You knew this was coming. Everybody that shares information about dogs talks about pit bulls eventually. Chances are, if you're old enough to have Instagram, that you've likely met someone who shouts to the heavens that pit bulls are amazing dogs despite how they are represented in the media. And they're right to do so. I like pit bulls. They're not my breed, but I consider owning one. My only real problem with them is what I discussed in my last video, how they're both a breed and a group of breeds, but that has to do with how people categorize them and has nothing to do with the dogs themselves. I'm going to quickly talk about a few things a lot of people get wrong about pit bulls. If you go on YouTube and find a video talking about pit bulls, you'll probably hear them be called the nanny dog. There are hundreds of videos online that show big, powerful pit bulls being gentle with babies and toddlers, and also protecting them while they sleep. In these videos, they may say something like, "I'll never need another babysitter again because I have a pit bull." In case it wasn't obvious, they were kidding. Never leave your child unsupervised with any dog. Pit bulls have killed babies before. So have Chihuahuas, and probably every dog breed has had this horrible incident occur. News websites will often have articles saying the dog snapped, or they'll even say the pit bull was thirsty for blood. It's nonsense, but if you look closer at these stories, you'll find that the dog had just been adopted, or it was like the first time being around the baby. When the baby cries and squirms around, this may induce the dog's prey drive, kind of like a squeaky toy. It's also important to realize that kids will always get into trouble, and the same is true for dogs, so it's best never to have them left alone in the same room unsupervised. Remember in those videos, the parents aren't in the room. They're holding the camera. I really can't stress this enough. This is not exclusive to pit bulls. A friend of my grandfather lived up north and had a young daughter and several sled dogs. These dogs have always been gentle around the little girl, and she even fed them treats. One day, the little girl went to see the dogs while they were staked outside, and this was in the 1940s, and they mauled her to death. Absolutely no one knows what exactly happened or why they suddenly attacked her. Crazy shit happens, so it's always best to monitor every interaction between your children and your dogs. Besides, leaving your child alone with a dog in charge is a good way to get child services on your ass. I have one more myth, and then I'll move on to talking about banning dogs. Pit bulls were bred and shaped to be gladiators in dogfighting pits. Everything from their head shapes to their energy levels, and they were even bred to have higher tolerances to pain so that they can last longer in the pit. Despite being designed to be dog aggressive, they were actually bred never to bite the handler. They had to get their dogs out of the pits at the end of the match, and the dog may bite its handler while being amped up from the adrenaline. Any pit bull that did bite its handler would get put down, leaving most of the breeding stock to be very people tolerant yet dog aggressive. And it's for that reason that pit bulls aren't good guard dogs. As I've said, there are lots of variation in pit bulls and a lot of different temperaments, so they aren't a breed where you know what kind of dog you'll have. If a person has been saved by a pit bull, then they are incredibly lucky. It's like being saved by a cat. It's not impossible, but it's not to be relied on in an emergency. I once saw a video about why some dude chose to own a Fila Brasileiro, and he tells a story about an intruder who appeared in his yard. He was at work when he got a call from his wife saying there was a guy standing in the backyard. The husband told her to send their pit bull out to scare him. The dog ended up being friendly with him. He had to leave work to talk to him, and luckily the guy was just confused. This was an eye-opener for the husband, having seen how his dog would react towards a possible threat, and this led him to adopt a breed more grounded in guarding. You could adopt a pit bull as a visual deterrent, because seeing that a house has a dog on the property deters most intruders from entering. That's only half the battle. It would be better to adopt a breed that was bred for guarding if you really felt it necessary to have a dog that could attack intruders. Now, as everybody knows, pit bulls are banned in many states and countries for bullshit reasons. They do it because dogs attack people and to deter dog fighting. However, dog attacks still happen, and people who participate in dogfighting have found ways to get around not having pit bulls. They just use other breeds, such as German Shepherds, Wolf Dogs, and Terrier breeds. I'd imagine Terriers would be more entertaining to them because they are more tenacious and vicious in their fights. All they really did was ban their preferred breed to use in dogfighting. The number one breed responsible for dog bites are German Shepherds. 16% of all dog-related deaths are from purebred Rottweilers. Chihuahuas wake up every morning and choose violence. And none of this is stopped by banning pit bulls. I have two alternative methods to banning pit bulls. The reason these dogs attack people is because the owners don't know much about how to raise a dog, and they end up getting a dog they can't handle. The first solution is to have licenses to own certain dog breeds. While this would greatly lessen the problem, it would ultimately be a pain in the ass. Personally, I think less government is more government. It would also make it harder for pit bulls to be adopted from rescues because many potential adopters would be discouraged by the paperwork. It would also suck if you were someone like me that's open to adopting many different dog breeds, meaning you had to fill out many licenses in your lifetime. My other solution is simpler but ultimately harder. Simply inform the public. Here's how I think about dogs. Adopting a dog is kind of like applying for a job. You need more experience to apply for some, and others require less. There are some breeds the average person can't handle with no prior experience. Let's say I wanted to adopt a Czechoslovakian wolf dog. They are very energetic, wary of strangers, and can be hard to train if you aren't an experienced owner. If I was dead set on bringing one into my life someday, I'd start with other breeds first. For starters, I'd begin with a German Shepherd after doing a ton of research about owning one. Czechoslovakian wolf dogs are about 75% German Shepherd, but they still have more wolf-like characteristics that German Shepherds don't show. From there, I'd want to have a breed that was more wolf-like than other dogs, so I'd choose a northern breed like a Husky or a Malamute after doing a ton of research. After this, I may want to consider a Damascan in order to get some experience with wolf dogs after doing a ton of prior research to adoption. Damascans are bred to have very low amounts of wolf DNA. Some lines have even completely bred out the wolf entirely. Because they are so low content, their behavior is very similar to Huskies. Then, after all of that, I would apply for a Czechoslovakian wolf dog after doing a ton of research. Did you notice how often I said do a ton of research? Don't watch just one YouTube video. Watch 100. Read several books. Meet your breed in person if you can. Talk to people who have owned whatever breed you're interested in. Ask them what experience you need to adopt one. Now, a person probably wouldn't have to have as much experience with dogs in order to adopt a pit bull. I just went with Czechoslovakian wolf dogs because they aren't for the inexperienced or lazy dog owner. I think with basic knowledge of how to raise a dog and knowledge of what kind of pit bull you're getting, you may even be able to start with a pit bull. I've heard Staffordshire Bull Terriers are good for first-time owners that give proper care and training. They're also the biggest small dog that you can have, and they have adorable smiles. Start there if you want to get a dog that's in the pit bull group. I'm thinking about calling this series Speak. Let me know what you think about that. My next video will be about dog food, and it'll be out whenever I can get what I need for a science experiment together.